everybody, and welcome to episode 8. Episode 8 of Easy Like a Sunday Story. How is it episode 8? That is just crazy. For me, it's the only thing that I've got marking a regular passing of time. So to get to episode 8 and that be 2 months is just unbelievable. I don't know where the time's gone. Thank you to everyone who's continued to tune in each week, or that gets them on catch up, that's fed back your comments, and also that's sharing. I really, really do appreciate it. This week's story is called The Discount Suit Company, and I hope you enjoy it. Here it is. Violet loved Sundays. It was her favourite day of the week. She loved her walk from her flat through St Catherine's Dock, marvelling at all the boats, picking her favourite and dreaming what it would like to be on it, one of those boaty people. Where they might sail to, where they might have been. She loved how the sun glistened off the water and the swanky apartments. She passed the new restaurants and remembered it before they were there. She loved the magnificent hanging baskets outside the Dickens Inn, an abundance of colour and life. Memories of daytime lager shandies with friends and nights of gin and tonics. She'd swing wide, slightly out of her way, to catch a glimpse of the River Thames, with views of Butler's Wharf and the South Bank opposite. And of course the glorious Tower Bridge, shining blue and gold in the sun. She'd stand by the Big Fish water fountain for a few minutes and breathe in the morning. It really was a strong contender for the best city in the world. She felt so lucky to live in it. She'd walk alongside the Tower of London with all its fascinating and horrific history towards the city. She enjoyed passing through this commercial jungle with its clean, shiny pavements and variety of buildings. She loved the shapes and sizes and the silly nicknames. She always got the cheese grater and the walkie-talkie mixed up because, in her opinion, they looked more like the one that they weren't than the one that they were. She remembered it was the walkie-talkie that was the design fault that caused the reflection to melt stuff beneath it, including the emblem on somebody's Bentley. Pictures of people frying eggs under the construction were all over the papers. Apparently neither the owner of the Bentley nor the construction company footing the £8 million bill to rectify it didn't appreciate the joke, but Violet thought it was really funny. The gherkin was her favourite part of the skyline by far, though. So bold and different. She wondered if anyone else thought it looked like a pessary. She loved getting her morning coffee from the little indie cafe on the corner of Middlesex Street, right on the edge of the market. As she turned the corner this morning, she felt a little flutter in her tummy. She wasn't sure if she was more excited to see what she'd come for or for the person that was going to give it to her. She loved this place, its atmosphere. Sometimes she'd catch the clangs from the market stall's construction if she was early enough, but invariably she wasn't, so it left the general hustle and bustle of haggling and vocal sales pitches. Most of the time all you could hear was a mumble and then the word pound, in either a Cockney or an Indian accent, or both twanged together. She even saw the £1 fish man one day. An Indian guy who sang about the fish he was selling. Someone videoed it and it went viral and he became a bit of a celeb. He had the smiliest face. She was starstruck when she saw him and berated herself on that one occasion for being a vegetarian. She loved how you could pass through 4 completely different cultural landscapes in 15 minutes. Wapping and the docks with boats and luxurious abodes. You could see the canal with its ducks and the river with its clippers for cruising and commuting, all within minutes of each other. That glimpse of the Thames also showed the Lord Mayor's Building, London Bridge, St Paul's, HMS Belfast and the Tate Modern. This, along with the history of the tower attracting the tourists, was all there for visitors to marvel at and take selfies with. Then the insurance district with the suits and the deals and the drunken team dues during the week, which was a ghost town at the weekend. And then the proper East End. The buzz and urgency of people working hard to make ends meet. The camaraderie of the community, the feeling that everyone is in it together. The nostalgia and the memories of stories from her grandparents about how things were, tales of the war and tough times, how people got by and stuck together. Your neighbours were your extended family. You helped each other out. The mix of cultures with the Jewish and the Asian communities brought colour and spice, a vibrancy and variety that Violet loved. If you kept going, you'd get to Spitalfields Market with all its trendiness and designer shops, or the Columbia Road Market for flowers. But Pettitcoat Lane Market, referred to as the Lane by the Cockneys, who have the unspoken rule of shortening every name, always, was the final destination of Violet's enthralling walk. It was actually on Middlesex Street and Wentworth Street. Pettitcoat Lane was the name, not the address. It was so called due to the sale of garments in the 18th century. Politics and boundary records might have changed the road name, but not its term of endearment. Violet made her way to her favourite stall. She felt the tummy lurch again. She wondered if the feeling was entirely down to the goods she was going to collect, or the fact that this pre-arrangement of meeting Jay almost felt like a social engagement. She felt a bit silly. She had no idea what his story was. All she knew was that he didn't wear a wedding ring and that he was always very complimentary of Violet's outfits. They always chatted loads and had a giggle. He had a cheeky smile and a glint in his eye. What she didn't know was whether the smile and glint were reserved just for her or simply the tools of his salesman trade. She thought at least some were special treatment. She knew she was his best customer. He'd mentioned that before, that business was slower thanks to eBay and cheap imitations. Jay's stall was fabulous. It filled her heart with joy every time she visited, and she would always come away with double the items she planned to allow herself and quadruple the items she could afford. Violet was a huge fan of vintage fashion and decor, and Jay's stall sold just about everything she could want. From gramophones to carriage clocks, from typewriters to tea dresses and turbans, Jay's stall was a treasure trove of glamour and elegance. It helped that the tete-a-tete was appealing too. The era that Violet was obsessed with, in particular, was the wartime era. From a year or two before the First World War up until the late 40s. It fascinated her how the wars shaped fashion and home. There was the practical clothing allowed for women as they set to work during the Great War, and the celebration and freedom of the flapper days, with dances like the Charleston needing dresses to show off the moves. There was the stylish 30s, with the glitz of Hollywood, and again the utility wear of the Second World War. Violet loved the Roaring Twenties. For her, any decade described as roaring would be her favourite. It was often referred to as the Gatsby era, with F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby giving us a window into the jazz age. It was a time of prosperity, music and artistic and cultural flamboyance. There was a time of development of cars, telephones, radio, moving pictures and electrical appliances in the home. Some women were even allowed to vote. But with the prohibition, it was also a time of rebellion and freedom. People would still have a good time, but they would find ways of doing it without getting caught. And so, the speakeasy was born. Secrets, disguise, temptation. It was such a wildly romantic thought. Violet wished she'd been around in those times. For Violet, it wasn't just an interest. She was building a business from her passion in props and costume design for period events and TV and film productions, and she'd finally landed her dream job. It was a big contract too, and could propel her reputation into game-changing territory. She was head designer for a new film about F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, Zelda. She'd been given a chance to prove herself and had been working around the clock to source the things that she needed. It was rewarding, but such hard work. She could spend hours getting nowhere, and then she'd find a missing piece and it would slot into the bigger picture in her mind seamlessly. She'd get a rush of adrenaline, exclaiming, "Yes!" filled with relief and excitement, and then on to the next task. Tomorrow, she had a meeting with a director to bring costumes for a scene in the Biltmore Hotel. She had everything she needed except for the most important item, Zelda's mint green dress. She'd been photographed there in 1924 wearing it, and the director wanted it to be as close to the iconic outfit as possible. Violet had mentioned it to Jay and shown him a photo, and he said that he could get his hands on a very close match. She paid him quite a hefty sum of money and was meeting him today to pick it up. It was cutting it finer than she'd like, but she really had no choice. She stopped in her tracks and then looked around her in confusion, pivoting full circle on the spot. It reminded her of when her dad's car was stolen. The disbelief made him look around, doubting where he'd parked it, not wanting to believe it was gone. Jay's stall wasn't there. She did a quick scan up and down to see if maybe he'd had to move his pitch today, knowing that it was unlikely. He was always in the same place. And he was never not there on a Sunday. It was his best day, he'd told her. It was payday weekend too, and the market was packed with enthusiastic customers, pockets ablaze with burning cash. Why wasn't he here? Apart from anything, they'd had an arrangement. She'd paid him the money. She'd paid him the money. Surely it wasn't enough to do a runner, though. That didn't make any sense. He wouldn't do that to her. Would he? What was she going to do? She couldn't meet her director tomorrow without that dress. She was going to have to find something else, which she knew was impossible given the time frame, and unlikely even if she had weeks. She'd already exhausted all of her contacts. She was going to have to get some materials and try to make something herself and stay up all night in the process. This kind of intricacy should take days or weeks ordinarily. She knew it wouldn't be good enough, but she had no choice. This was a total disaster. She felt so let down by Jay too. She thought that they'd built up a real friendship and stupidly hoped it could be more, but it seemed the smile was like his broken Victrola. It was just for show. Head down, she turned to walk back when she heard a voice calling her. It was Mo, the guy from the stall that was usually next to Jay's. Sorry, I've been looking out for you all morning, but I was with a customer. Jay asked me to give you a message, Mo said. Where is he? Violet asked, exacerbation in her voice. I honestly don't know, love, said Mo. This ain't like him. He just said something could come up and he asked you to meet him at 5 o'clock by the discount suit company. This was getting really weird, Violet thought. The discount suit company was an empty building on Wentworth Street. The suit company had been closed for ages, but it had never been re-let and the old signage was still up. Huge garish letters on the brickwork with the M missing and a wonky C. By 5 p.m. the market would be long gone and there wouldn't be many people around. What was he playing at? Can you give me his number, Mo? She asked. His phone's off. I keep trying it, Mo said with a shrug and a raise of his hands as if to say, I don't get it either. Did he say if he's got what I need? She asked, trying to sound cool but with notes of desperation seeking in. Afraid not. That's all I know, love. He's a good bloke, though. He will have done his best for you, I'm sure. He didn't seem very sure. What a dilemma. On the one hand, she could try spending time and money on materials that weren't quite right and then kill herself trying to make a shoddy dress to show her director and waffle through the meeting on no sleep. Or she could hope and pray that Jay was going to come through with the goods and not murder her on Artillery Passage like Jack the Ripper. Both wasn't an option. There wasn't enough time. She decided to pin her hopes on Jay. And if he didn't come through but didn't kill her, then she would get the message to her director that he had tried, given her reason enough to postpone the meeting. Nothing short of an attempt on her life would be a worthy enough excuse. You didn't mess these people about. You didn't not deliver. Failure to prove herself would mean chance blown, capping her business growth at kitting out corporate parties and Amdram productions of Bugsy Malone. She waited until 5:15. They were the longest 15 minutes she could remember, each one making her feel increasingly sick at the thought of what she had to face. She couldn't believe she'd allowed this to happen. How stupid could she be? She turned to leave. Violet, wait! She looked up and Jay was half running, his left arm raised to get her attention like he was hailing a taxi. She wasn't sure if she was going to hug him or hit him. Oh, I'm so sorry. It was harder to get hold of them than I thought. There was a miscommunication and I had to go to Birmingham to get it. They were meant to deliver to me. Traffic was a nightmare. I've literally just got back. He raised his sunglasses to reveal his big brown eyes. Honest eyes, she'd now decided. That's why you weren't at the lane today. You missed your best day's trade. Yeah, course I did. A promise is a promise, and I don't like letting people down. Especially not you. Her stomach did that leap again. She blushed and smiled and felt a ginormous sense of relief. Can I see it? She asked. It was breathtakingly beautiful. It was the perfect tone of green. Zelda liked to match her drinks with her dress, and her favourite tipple was a mint julep. The silver embroidery was astonishing. The cut was perfect. The cloth was sublime. Her eyes welled up. It was everything she'd hoped and more. It's perfect, she said. Thank you so much. You had me worried there. I know. I'm sorry. My phone died. I picked up something extra as a peace offering, though. He handed her a gift, wrapped delicately in red tissue paper. He held it underneath so that she could unwrap it. She gasped. It was a feather collar, the kind you wear around your shoulders to jazz up your cocktail dress. It was like a practical feather boa. It wouldn't flap up and get caught on your lipstick, and because it was tied, you couldn't get drunk and leave it in a bar. Decent ones were really hard to get hold of. This one was gorgeous. Wow, I don't know what to say, Violet said. I mean, thank you. She immediately wished she had occasion to wear it. Well, I'd decided I was going to ask you for a drink, and I was worried your Sunday casuals might make you feel a bit underdressed. I know how much fashion means to you. It felt bold, putting it over a vest and black skinny jeans, but it actually really worked. She actually felt too overdressed for any of the pubs around here. You look amazing, he said. Follow me. And with that, he pushed open the Discount Suit Company door. What are you doing? Violet asked, confused. Not too late for the murder part to come true, she thought. Trust me, said Jay. They went down a dark, skinny wooden staircase. Violet had no idea what was going on. She could hear muffled noise and saw a door saying no entry. Jay nodded and she pushed it open. Her jaw dropped. The Discount Suit Company was a speakeasy. It was astonishing. The dim lights, the exposed brickwork and beams, the mismatched furniture, the light jazz music. She drank it all in. She felt like she could have been right there in that roaring time, all the glitz and glam and fun. But it was the secrecy of it too, the element of surprise. It felt exclusive and cool and really special. Jay, this is incredible. I love it so much. I knew you would, he said. It's just you. The barman arrived at their table. Whoa, loving the feathers, he said to her. The cocktail list was to die for, but she knew what she was having. Thank you. She shot Jay a smile of appreciation. I'm getting these, she said. We'll have 2 mint juleps. The end.